When the year 1066 began, England stood at the height of its power in early medieval Europe. It was wealthy, administratively advanced, and politically centralized in a way few kingdoms of the time could match. Yet this strength masked a critical vulnerability. The stability of the English state depended heavily on a single figure, and when that figure disappeared, the entire structure was thrown into uncertainty. King Edward the Confessor died in January 1066 without a direct heir. His long reign had been relatively peaceful, but his failure to produce a successor created a crisis that extended far beyond England's borders. The English throne was not merely symbolic. It represented control over land, taxation, military force, and one of the most sophisticated bureaucratic systems in Europe. As soon as Edward died, competing claims emerged, each grounded in different interpretations of legitimacy. Harold Godwin's son was crowned king almost immediately. He was not of royal blood, but he was the most powerful noble in England, commanding vast estates and the loyalty of key regional leaders. His coronation was approved by the Witan, the traditional council of nobles and churchmen, which gave his rule legal authority within English custom. To many in England, Harold was the obvious choice. He represented continuity, experience, and stability at a moment of danger. Across the Channel, Duke William of Normandy rejected Harold's claim. William argued that Edward had promised him the throne years earlier during Edward's exile in Normandy. He also claimed that Harold had sworn an oath supporting William's right to rule while visiting Normandy. The circumstances of that oath remain contested, but William treated it as a sacred commitment. In his view, Harold was not a legitimate king, but a usurper. At the same time, a third contender prepared his own claim. Harald Hardrada of Norway, a veteran warrior and seasoned ruler, asserted his right based on earlier Scandinavian agreements that traced back to the Viking Age. His claim was supported by Tostig Godwin's son, Harold's estranged brother, who sought revenge and restoration of power. England now faced not one invasion, but two, each led by experienced commanders with different strategies and ambitions. Harold Godwin's son was forced into a position of constant readiness. Throughout the summer of 1066, he maintained forces along the southern coast, anticipating William's landing. This prolonged mobilization strained resources and exhausted troops. When no invasion came immediately, many soldiers were dismissed to harvest crops, a necessary act for survival, but a dangerous one politically. In September, the northern threat materialized first. Harold Hardrada and Tostig landed in northern England with a substantial force. They quickly defeated local resistance at the Battle of Fulford, opening the way to York. Harold responded with extraordinary speed, marching his army north in a matter of days, demonstrating the effectiveness of England's internal road network and military organization. The Battle of Stamford Bridge that followed was decisive and brutal. Hardrada was killed, Tostig fell beside him, and the Norwegian army was effectively destroyed. The victory eliminated one threat entirely, but it left Harold's army physically depleted. Many of his men had marched hundreds of miles and fought a major battle in rapid succession. Almost immediately, word arrived that William of Normandy had landed in southern England. Harold now faced an impossible decision. To delay risked allowing William to consolidate power. To march south meant confronting a fresh army with exhausted troops. Harold chose speed once again. marching south to meet the Norman threat. William's invasion was the result of careful preparation rather than chance. He had spent months gathering ships, men, and supplies. He secured the backing of the papacy, which lent his campaign moral authority and attracted additional support. His army was diverse, composed of Normans, Bretons, and other European warriors, unified by loyalty to William and the promise of land. On October 14, 1066, the two armies met near Hastings. Harold positioned his forces on high ground, forming a dense shield wall of infantry. This tactic had served the English well for generations. William's army attacked repeatedly, combining archers, infantry, and cavalry in coordinated assaults. For much of the day, the outcome remained uncertain. English defenses held firm, repelling attack after attack. At moments, Norman forces wavered. According to later accounts, a rumor spread that William had been killed, threatening to collapse morale. William reportedly lifted his helmet to show himself alive, restoring order and control. As the battle wore on, tactics evolved. Norman forces exploited moments of English pursuit, drawing sections of the shield wall out of formation. Archers adjusted their approach, firing arrows in high arcs to strike over shields. Fatigue, confusion, and fragmentation weakened English resistance. By evening, Harold Godwin's son was dead. The precise manner of his death remains debated, but its effect was immediate. Without their king, English forces collapsed. The Battle of Hastings ended not only a military engagement, but an era of English rule. Victory did not grant William instant control. Resistance continued across England, especially in the north. William advanced deliberately, securing key locations and demanding submission. Those who resisted faced harsh consequences. The most devastating response came in the harrying of the north, where land was systematically destroyed to prevent rebellion. Norman rule transformed England's social structure. The Anglo-Saxon elite was largely removed and replaced with Norman lords. Land ownership was redistributed on an unprecedented scale. Castles rose across the landscape, serving both military and psychological purposes, enforcing control over territory and population. Administrative systems were expanded and refined. Existing English institutions were preserved where useful, but reshaped to fit Norman feudal hierarchy. The Domesday Book recorded land, wealth, and obligations with extraordinary detail, reflecting a new level of centralized authority. Cultural change followed political transformation. Norman French became the language of power, law, and administration. Old English persisted among the population, gradually blending with French influence. This linguistic fusion would define the English language for centuries. The conquest also altered England's place in Europe. English kings became deeply involved in continental affairs. England was no longer a distant island kingdom, but part of a trans-channel political world. Its rulers held lands in both England and France, tying the fate of the kingdom to broader European conflicts. The Norman Conquest reshaped kingship itself. Authority became more centralized, more militarized, and more dependent on land ownership and loyalty. The older Anglo-Saxon model, rooted in tradition and consensus, gave way to a system forged through conquest and control. The events of 1066 were not inevitable. They were the result of ambition, miscalculation, opportunity, and chance. Yet their consequences were permanent. England emerged transformed, its identity reshaped by invasion and adaptation. The England that followed was neither fully Norman nor fully Anglo-Saxon. It was a fusion created through conflict, compromise, and necessity. From this fusion emerged the foundations of medieval England and, eventually, the modern state. With the Norman Conquest, the long journey that began with Roman Britain reached its conclusion. England had been forged through centuries of invasion, settlement, collapse, and renewal. By 1066, that process was complete. The birth of England was not a moment, but a centuries-long transformation, and 1066 marked the point at which the old world finally gave way to the new.